Okay, this is random but interesting little matchup, and we are getting closer to Saint Seiya on Death Battle officially. Sadly, it will not be against Kratos. That was my number one matchup. Hey, maybe Zeus in the future, who knows. Anyway, this video was Goku's son Gohan versus Pegasus Koga, who may be something like an adopted son to Seiya, or at very least a successor. Unfortunately, Omega is what I know about least, but I do a little bit of research. Weirdly enough, this fight used manga feats, which personally makes this very complicated. But using manga feats and scaling, this is a pretty hard stump for Koga. It would be an absurd infinite power scale chain. So I'm just going to make anime Koga only versus anime Gohan, who I think is the strongest version anyway. First, the guy with the fro says something like, Gohan's gonna beat this dead horse, which I thought was funny. Now, I'm going to start with the points made for Gohan. Sorry if I misrepresent anyone here, I'm trying my best to be fair, though of course I'm a little biased towards Koga and Saint Seiya in general. Now, Gohan, especially his beast form, is said to be one of the strongest Z fighters comparable to the gods. No argument there for me, and he says he has universal to multiversal feats, again I agree. Gohan can likely survive atomic destruction due to durability scaling. To make something a bit clearer, and honestly, even the manga doesn't make itself particularly clear on this either, but atomic destruction is reducing something to its atoms. Destroying atoms is closer to matter manipulation. However, subatomic destruction is also a thing in the universe. As for Gohan's ability to resist, assuming Gohan could resist Hakai and those two things are comparable, then he could resist it if he is comparable or stronger than Koga, which I don't think he is. Gohan scales to characters with immeasurable to infinite speed, fighting merged Zamatsu using instant transmission. Not sure if this makes a lot of sense. Maybe more knowledgeable Dragon Ball fans can tell me. It's been a while since I scaled that series, but I believe immeasurable speed is greater than infinite speed, and being able to fight someone using instant transmission is not really a feat unless they can truly react to it the way Wiz seemingly did in the Broly movie. In terms of stamina, Kai is finite. Gohan can, however, recharge during battle and push beyond exhaustion. This is true, but again, finite. Characters in Dragon Ball often pull out new transformation or boost mid-fight. Fair enough, but suggesting that they could pull out a new transformation consistently might be a push. His techniques mentioned for Gohan is Special Beam Cannon, Bazinko, Kamehameha, Beast Rage Power. Basically, energy attacks and a power boost. Now for Koga, off rip, the coolest thing I remember Koga doing is suplexing a star. Now Liam's arguments were, Cosmos destroys matter at an atomic level, even passively. While not sure what it means for combat, they can destroy protons, meaning quantum destruction. Cosmos scales based on fighting spirit and will, potentially infinite in humans and gods. Yes, infinite comment is in the anime as well. Koga eventually wields the ultimate Omega Cloth, which contains power from Athena. This is true, though not sure how infinity stacking technically works in a stat boost, but to Saturn, it felt like a Big Bang, in particular, the Big Bang that created the Omega Universe was created. Overall scaling is based around fighting Saturn, which is smart scaling, because he is the strongest being in the anime multiverse. In terms of speed, Cosmos users can move across infinite sized dimensions in a finite amount of time. Basically, yes. In the anime, they crossed Ellipsion, which was stated to have innumerable stars and dark spots, as well as the underworld itself being stated to be endless. Speed is kind of funny in Omega. It has been stated Saints can warp space and time, making attacks essentially teleportation. Something else worth noting is, with a weapon, a Gold Saint level character could transcend the concept of time. Koga would be much above this character, even with the weapon. Durability and endurance. Now he talks about the 8th sense, and it needs to be noted that the 8th sense giving the ability to resurrect is more of a fan theory than something that has shown to be true. There's a mention of precognition. Yes, to a degree, Saints can sense possible danger in future events. Instant adaptation and reactive evolution? Yes, while there are, of course, limits, Saints can understand, counter, resist, or flat out nullify techniques once seen before. There's a lot of talk about pressure points, and sure, it's a thing Saints can do and can even heal themselves with it, but not sure how important that really is in this particular battle. Passive Cosmos Aura. We have seen gods do that, certainly, and humans do definitely have a version of that. Not to the degree that gods do, but they do have emit sort of a destructive aura, power boost, and heat thing around themselves. Now, I'm not sure what scale he went for, but scaling myself off rip, the scaling chain for Koga, since he's the strongest or second strongest being in the anime multiverse, is still pretty big, and should even contain all the movie villains. So basically, starting from the bottom of this sort of scale chain, with the biggest feat being Poseidon, who was growing hundreds of times more powerful as he was awakening. And it was stated that this power could encompass the universe. That puts him, of course, above universal, and some say that should count as immeasurable speed. And again, this is a god awakening and steadily getting hundreds of times more powerful, so nowhere near the power of a true god. Meaning above him are the twin gods, who Seiya easily defeated while attaining the God Cloth. Above that is Hades, whose power sustains the infinite underworld, the dimensions within it, as well as the dimension of Ellipsion, also possibly the super dimension, which, as mentioned before, is big enough to contain infinite stars. The sun god Apollo would be above Hades, as well as Lucifer, who had the power of 3 gods. So Koga is infinitely stronger than characters whose power is beyond the universe and beyond the infinite underworld and its various dimensions. All in all, I say that makes him between multiversal to low complex multiversal to an infinite degree. So, overall, Koga, to me, easily outclasses Gohan in terms of hacks and destructive capability, in my opinion. Tell me your thoughts in the comments, by the way. You know, I'm a bit surprised there were not more mention of miracles. It's an ability that is basically destiny manipulation, that implication. And hey, apparently there was a poll in the chat in which Gohan won 53% to Koga's 49%, and honestly, given Liam did not do an amazing job, without due respect, breaking down Koga's power and how insanely more popular Gohan is as a character compared to Koga and really anyone in Saint Seiya, I consider that a huge win. But let me know your thoughts, comments, and remember to like, sub, and hit the bell. Later.